everybody. This is Andrew Hicks, your technology coordinator for the Uwaldini Group. Today we're going to go over a little bit about how to create your goals in Command and how to track them and how this tool can be extremely valuable to you and your business. So we will go ahead and get started immediately. So as you can see, we're at the home page of Command. Now there's no additional setup in order to start creating your goals and tracking them. All you have to do is just sign into Command, and then we want to go over to our goals option in the sidebar here. And again, what I like to do, I like to hit the little red KW to expand everything. The goals area is actually going to be under reports. So if we scroll down to reports here, we click right on there. This is where you'll be tracking your goals and any sort of reports that Command's able to generate for you. Now, this relies heavily upon your contacts and also your opportunities. The entire goals feature tracks opportunities and opportunities only. So you're going to want to make sure that you utilize that function as much as possible for any sort of contact that you get. So in order to get started, what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and click on Goals up here at the top. And you can see if you've already set a goal, it's going to give you your conversion rates for each step of the way inside of that sales pipeline. So what we're going to start off doing first is we're going to go ahead and create a goal. So we can choose which year goals we want to look at here. For our purposes, we're going to go ahead and go with 2020. So what we'll do, we'll click on the goal setting here in the upper right-hand corner. Now that's going to bring us to our Kelly guide for the goals. So pretty simple. We're just going to click on Get Started, and that will walk us through this entire process. Now you can see once we hit Get Started, it gives us our GCI breakdown, all the information here in this nice little dashboard. What we have to do is we need to tell it what information to pull. So you can see from here, previously, the last time I did a training on this, I used 50,000 for the annual profit goal. Today, we're going to go ahead and change that to 100,000. Now, this is going to be your 2020 annual profit goal, and if you hover over the little I right here next to each of these options, it's going to tell you exactly what it expects on there. So this one, this is the amount of profit your business earns before taxes and after subtracting the cost of sales and operating expenses from your GCI. So this is what you plan to earn after any sort of operating expenses, taxes, before taxes, and then after subtracting any cost of sales. And we'll get into that in a couple of moments here. It'll walk us through that as well. So the next part is the year-to-date sales volume. So this is asking how much you've sold so far. What is your year-to-date sales volume so far? So you're going to want to add in any sort of commission that you've earned up to this point. That's going to also include your cost of sales and operating expenses. So even if you took those out from there, you're going to want to add those back in for your year-to-date sales volume. The next part is your expenses. So this is expecting for you to put in the expenses that are made whether or not a transaction takes place. So salaries, lead generation, marketing expenses, education, if you pay for an office, your automobile expenses, and etc. So anything you use typically when trying to make a sale, pretty much any of your operating expenses here. So let's say that for my yearly operating expenses, I spend about $10,000 on advertisements, driving to and from places, for my office, for marketing materials, promotional materials, all that. We'll say that I go ahead and use $10,000 on there. Now, these numbers are going to be different for each person depending on how it is that you make your sales. If you typically deal within your circle of influence, or excuse me, your sphere of influence, it may be a little bit less, but you just want to go through and give a little bit of thought into it and about how much you spend each year on your expenses. So the next one is the cost of sales. Now if we hover over that, you can see that this expects expenses that are made only when a transaction takes place. So splits to agents, transaction coordinators, market center, as well as referral fees and other transaction-dependent expenses. So you're going to want to put that information in here. So you'll just want to take a little while to think about it and think about how much typically gets taken out from each of those transactions, and then how many transactions you expect to make in a year. You want to put that number in here. So for our purposes here, we're going to go ahead and put 15,000 for this one, just for the sake of our training here. Now you can see as I'm adding this information in, to the left-hand side, this area is updating. So you're going to see for me to make my annual profit goal of 1,000, I'm going to have to subtract the cost of sales and the operating expenses from my total GCI. So I'm going to have to get at least $125,000 in GCI in order to hit that profit goal of 100,000. You can also see it breaks down how much each month I need to make as well. So I need to make at least $8,333 each month in order to reach my goal. So we'll go ahead and continue. We're going to scroll along the right-hand side here. You can see we've got the business makeup. How much of your business is listings versus how much of it is buyers. Now, we're going to go ahead and just use 50-50 in my case. If you typically do more listings, you'll definitely want to increase that number. If you deal with buyers typically, you'll want to increase that number there as well. So we'll just have to sit and think a little bit about your business makeup, how much of them are listings, how many of them are buyers. I know not many people here use leases, so we're just going to leave that at 0. Now the next part is the average commission per unit. So for each house, what is the average commission for your listings and your buyer side? If we hover over this little helpful eye, it's going to give us some more information. It says the balance between sellers and buyers in your business. So if you typically make more on a buyer, then you want to add that in there. If you make more on a seller, you want to add that in there, but by default, it's going to split it based on the percentage there. You're going to want to make sure that this commission is realistic and about how much you make per listing and per buyer. So we're going to go ahead and continue on here. We're going to go ahead and click on next. From this stage, you can see we have our conversion rates. Now this is why this tool is so powerful, because you're going to need to know your conversion rates in order to find out how many people you need to speak to each month in order to reach your goal. It'll give you a little bit more guidance on what you should be focusing on. So as you can see here, we've got our conversion rates. We've got leads, which are people who have shown an interest in the services you offer, but you haven't engaged in a two-way conversation. So these are going to be Facebook leads, people that you meet at any sort of function, any sort of networking group. I know there's not a whole lot going on right now due to COVID, but these are going to be any kind of leads that you gain, whether they're from lead generation, from doing your Facebook ads, Twitter ads, Google ads, any way that you get your leads. This is going to be that conversion rate here. So from those leads, how many of you actually engage in a two-way conversation with them? So the contacts is the next. It says leads that you have held a two-way conversation with and have established a value-based relationship with. So how many of those leads are you able to cultivate into contacts? People that you actually have a two-way conversation with. So you can see these numbers are automatically populated here on the right-hand side. So what you'll want to do is you want to go through and think about how many of the leads that you gather, about what percentage of those turn into actual contacts, ones that you have a two-way conversation with. Now, this is why using those opportunities are so important. If you create an opportunity for every single lead and use that sales pipeline, you're going to have those conversion rates already. You won't have to think about it. You're going to have an accurate number about how many people you need to get into as a lead in order to turn those into contacts. So for our purposes here, we're going to keep it at 5%, our default. So out of 100 leads that we get, 5% of them, 5 of them are going to be a contact. We're going to have a two-way conversation and establish a value-based relationship with them. Now the next part is how many of those contacts turn into an appointment that you set with them. So as you can see here on the left-hand side, it says we scheduled a meeting with prospective clients, a listing consultation, face-to-face touches to further a relationship. So this is giving us a default number here of 5%. And again, this is why those opportunities are so important. If you create an opportunity and move them through that sales pipeline, you're going to have a 100% accurate number of your conversion rates. From here, it just says 5%. So you're going to want to think about it. If yours is a little bit higher, go ahead and increase that number a little bit. The next part of it is the appointments that are kept. So of those people that you set an appointment with, how many of them actually showed up to it? How many were you able to have a face-to-face conversation with and talk about a listing consultation or having some kind of face-to-face consultation about buying or anything about real estate there? Now the default number here is about 75%, which if you set an appointment with them, they're typically going to keep that appointment. They don't want to be rude and turn down an appointment that they already made with you, so we'll say about 75% of those keep that appointment. And again, I can't stress this enough, those opportunities are extremely important to utilize. That way you can track your actual conversion rate and get these accurate numbers here. So of those appointments, it's saying the appointments kept to agreements. So out of those appointments that you met with those people, how many of them actually turned into an agreement? And you can see here, it explains that as exclusive agreements between you and your clients to do business with each other. So of those appointments that you kept, how many of those people actually decided to do business with you? There was an agreement that was signed. From here, it gives us 75%. Again, if you use your opportunities correctly and you use them for every contact, every lead, and you move them through that sales pipeline, you're going to have a very accurate number for this conversion rate. The next one, the under contract or pending. So how many of those agreements turned into under contract or pending? You can see accepted legally binding offers on homes or when the landlord and tenant have a signed lease. So from here, it looks like 75% is what they have on here currently of those agreements that turn into under contract or pending. Again, those conversion rates, you'll want to think about it and think about your business and how you're doing with it. Again, those opportunities can give you an accurate number, so I cannot stress that enough during this training. I know I sound like a broken record, but it is extremely important and extremely valuable. Now the next one, it looks like 75% of those under contract or pending actually go to closed units. So the closed units are transactions between a buyer and a seller that have taken place with your assistance. So it says 75% here. Again, really important to use those opportunities. It will help you get accurate conversion rates, and in turn it will give you a little forecast of what you need to achieve during each month, during each week, in order to meet your goals by the end of the year. So once we have this information filled out, we've got our conversion rates set up in here correctly, we can go ahead and hit save and continue. And that brings us right here to give us an overview of our goals. We can see our nice little sales pipeline. We can see our nice little, this actually pretty much is a sales pipeline there. We can see what we need to earn in GCI in order to meet our $100,000 profit goal for the year. And it's going to give us the business makeup here and the average commissions per unit. If you notice something off and you need to change it, you can hit this back button here and you can edit that information again. So from here, we're going to go ahead and click What's Next. Now you can see we can go into our smart plans, we can go into our goals, or we can go back to our home screen from here. For our purposes, we're going to go back to View My Goals, and that's going to give us the goals dashboard here. Now, this is what we looked at earlier. So to explain this area here, you can see that my annual goal in order to reach $100,000 per year, I'm going to have to get 22,102 leads. That's going to be based on the amount that I put in for my goal. It's going to look at my conversion rates, and it's going to see that I'm going to need to turn 5% of these leads into a contact in order to reach my goal. Now you can see over here the annual goal for contacts is 1,106. I'm going to actually have a two-way conversation with 1,106 people in order to reach that goal based on those conversion rates that I entered in there. This is why it's so important to use the opportunities and make use of that sales pipeline. That way you can accurately track your conversion rates. Your conversion rates may be a little bit higher than what's showing on here. So if you have a 10% conversion rate, this number is obviously going to go down. You won't have to get as many contacts. The only way to know that is if you track those opportunities and you move them through that sales pipeline. So you can see the appointment set of those. I had to set 5%. I had to make appointments with 5% of the contacts, which gives us that nice 56 number here. So I'm going to have at least 56 appointments in order to reach my goal based on those conversion rates. Then you can see here, since 75% of appointments set are kept, we've got that nice number of 42. And then from there, 75% of that, I'm going to have to make into agreements, which comes to 32. Beyond that, 75% brings us down to 24. And then 75% of that is going to come down to 18. So I will have to close 18 units in order to reach my $100,000 goal based on those commission rate that I put in there, that average commission, and also based on my conversion rates most of all. And again, I cannot stress this enough, an accurate conversion rate is going to give you accurate numbers here. You'll know exactly what you have to do, and you'll also be able to track where you're having the most area of opportunity. So if you notice that your percentage is extremely low for contacts to appointments, you know that you need to focus on how to get those contacts into an appointment. You may go through some targeted training, some coaching, which we offer a ton of, and you can increase your business and in turn meet your goals and make this number a lot higher. So as I had mentioned, that is the goals training. It is heavily dependent upon those opportunities. So I would definitely recommend that anytime you get a contact or a lead, you put them in as an opportunity, you move them through that sales pipeline. That way you can get those actual conversion rates. That way you can forecast your business for the year and know exactly what you need to do each month. So you can see right up here as well, we're showing all. We can choose between listings and buyers. So if we want to look at our listing side, We can see how many listings we need to do and where we're at with that for the annual goal. And again, these are the progress here is being pulled from my opportunities, so we can see exactly where we're at any given time. Now we can also do it by the month. So if I click on this month right here, we can see how many leads each month I need to get. So I need to get 3,684 leads to end up with my yearly goal. And again, this is all based on those conversion rates. Now from here, we can actually compare ourselves to other people. We can compare them to all of the agents for this month. We can compare them to agents in our own market center where we're at with our goals. We can do that with any of these here, the top producing agents, a whole lot of ways to compare your production with other people's and kind of get you a little bit fired up to see if you can be the best. So again, the biggest takeaway from this is to use those opportunities, track your goals, get those accurate conversion rates. That way you can have some actual numbers to work with and know what you need to do each day and where you need to put your focus on. Again, this was Andrew Hicks with your goals training for Command. Feel free to reach out to me with any questions you may have. My email address is andrewhicks@kw.com. Also, feel free to keep checking through these videos on YouTube for more valuable training and information. Also, you can always check out any of our trainings on ubaldinitraining.com. We're going to have more live in-person goals trainings, and hopefully at some point in time in the future, we will have in-person training. That way we can all go through and do this together.